Now I want to be talking about this because I've got quite a few questions about this on and off over the past couple of months. You might have seen this in some of my other videos. It's basically a threaded life centre what I bought. We're not spoilt in Britain like other countries. I've been hunting for a threaded life centre, a 1" 8 TPI life centre to buy. Can't find one anywhere, and the only one that I could manage to find, without dropping bits all over the place already, butterfingers, is an M14 1mm thread. And as you can see, it's not good enough for wood. It's okay for metal, but it's not good enough for wood. So what I did was I ordered a Form G washer, a 15mm, well, a 14mm, but you can't, you don't get them with 14mm holes, they're actually 15, so there's a little bit of slop, but not much at all. The next size, and a 13 is actually a 13, but a 14 is a 15, but, so that's unfortunate. This, I made this up from a bit of threaded rod. I'll grab it from here. This is from, you don't have to make it out of one of these, obviously, if you haven't got one. I was lucky, I bought a second-hand lathe a while back with a hell of a lot of lathe stuff to go with it. I got rid of the lathe because unfortunately the lathe came with the stuff that I actually wanted. But this is basically for turning the tenons off hollow forms. You'd stick the hollow form on, so the tenons at this end. You'd have wooden block this end. A wooden jam chuck on this end, and you tighten that down. Well, you tighten the tailstock on first on the bottom. You'd have a cap there for the bottom of the life centre, so that'd be putting the pressure on between the life centre and this, and you just tighten that down, and when it's rotating you've got the hollow form on there, so you can take the bottom off, especially if you've got like a thin opening. It's not really ideal to have a jam chuck or anything there if it's not supported another way. So what I did, this is slightly bent. When it was in the headstock, I turned it and this end was waggling around a little bit, so it's useless. So I decided to utilise this for that. Already had, fun enough, I already had a 14mm by 1mm pitch tap. So what I did was I drilled through, obviously tapped it and then cut it off. As you can see, I didn't exactly cut that straight because my skills at cutting threaded rod straight is very much lacking. But you don't have to do it that way. What you could do is you could obviously go to a machinist, if you know a machinist, or you can find a machinist nearby that will do it for you. I can't imagine it to be that expensive. Or what you can do is you can order another spindle thread adapter, and then what you'd do is you'd literally stick that on the headstock, drill the hole, you'd measure first for the actual depth, how much steel you got. I mean, there's plenty there. The bottom of there is about there, so you've got loads of length there. You drill a hole, tap it, and then you just cut that section off, and you've got your 1" 8 TPI or whatever thread you want to do. Now I decided to do it 1" 8 TPI. The reason why is because I've got a 1" 8 TPI spindle thread adapter. So if I'm making caps for this life centre, I can then easily also thread them onto the headstock. Now also what I've got is I've got another spindle thread adapter here, and that's 1" 8 TPI up to M33 3.5. So I can thread that on, that cross threading it. And I can also use a main chuck, and I can put that in the tailstock to spin it. And the reason for that is obviously when you're turning a bowl, you'll turn the outside, then you'll flick it round to turn the inside. But then sometimes when you flick it the other way round to hollow it out, the bottom's slot out. It's not right in the chuck, and no matter what you do, you can't get it level. So what you do is, once the inside's hollowed out, you take it off, obviously put it on the live centre, get a friction drive on your headstock, and you just push it on, and you can retool the outside then. A lot easier, especially with side grain, because you go from the bottom to the rim, and then once you're done, flick it back over again, put it back onto your spindle. So there's not just that. This is one of the caps that I've got that I made for a spindle, for a goblet. Sorry, that's got thread in it, what I tapped, and that goes on there. Get this off. The lens is nicely fogging up from my breath, so I'm sorry about that. Take my spindle off, thread adapter off. Very well organised already, aren't I? That threads onto that, backs up to the washer, and the washer makes it all true. And that's obviously in the tailstock. And then when you've got your goblet here, you've already hollowed it out. You've got a fairly thick rim, say about 5 or 6 millimetres, something like that, because you'll get chatter if you go less than that. You push the cap in so then it's supported, and the rim is supported all the way around, and also by this ridge here, so it hasn't got the tendency, if you was using something like this or a jam chuck, another cone on your tailstock, wooden cone, it hasn't got the tendency to do that. When you're tooling the actual stem, the cut mount actually got a goblet here with a head. Probably use that. Not the idea. That circle on that, or if it's wood, something amount of wood in that. When you're tooling the stem, or down at the bottom, or around the rim, it's got a tendency to flex just that little bit. And that flexing is what gives you chatter when you're on the thingy stem. Just with that, sorry, I keep on looking at the screen and that looks really bad. Sorry about that. Sorry about the condensation from my breath. With that rim there and the goblet obviously on it, when you're just tooling the stem, it's not going to want to twist on your jam chuck, jam block or waste block there, or tennis ball or whatever you're using, because you've got that. So you're not going to get the vibration as much. You're not going to get nowhere near as much vibration when you're actually on the stem. So what I'm going to do is this video, I've explained that. This video now is on the various uses that I get out of one of these caps while doing a goblet. And I'm going to try to clean this lens off. Right, just going to do a little bit of shaping. I've chucked it. One thing I didn't check is tightness. Can you notice something different? Took my watch off of my rings. I've started doing that now because I did have a problem with this live centre. I had the chuck on it and I was holding the chuck. If you imagine the chuck on the live centre like that, and I was winding the chuck in, and just as the friction drive put friction on the bowl, it started to turn. And what happened was one of my rings caught. That's obviously wound a little bit too far out, just to show. One of my rings caught on that, right on that edge there, and as it was turning, it caught my hand, and obviously my hand was still on the winder, the tailstock handle. the lathe was spinning pretty slow, only about 60 RPM, something like that, and the friction had only just started to grab. So luckily I got the presence of mind to unwind the tailstock again, take the pressure off the actual bowl, otherwise it would have pulled me and right round. So yeah, I've stopped wearing my rings. It shows you how long I've had my rings on. It's a bit of a struggle. I feel naked without them. But got the roughing gouge, going to smooth it off a little bit. Don't really have to do this, but I'm going to be shaping it anyway. And it's not the sharpest chisel. Stopping short because of the chop. Actually, bowl gouge. Prefer to use a bowl gouge when I'm going in. Well, I prefer to rough a goblet with a bowl gouge, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? It hugs out a lot more. You've got to be obviously a bit more careful. That's going to be gone anyway. You don't want to go too far. Yeah, that would be right. That's 70, 6, 7, 8. I don't use Forstner bits no more. HSS is just as good. You know what I mean? A normal HSS spiral bit. And they're a lot easier to sharpen. As always, I'm going to be turning this with the lathe on reverse. So I prefer to push away than pull towards me. And I'm tightening the chuck on the spindle a little bit tighter. The reason why is you're turning it in the direction that you wind the chuck on. So if you get a catch or you put too much strain on it, the spindle's turning, the chuck's trying to stop and it ends up unwinding. So I tighten it up more, stick it on reverse, and I push away rather than hunch over the... I push away and I can see the back wall. rather than hunching over the lathe and pulling towards me. So that end grain looks now. That looks a lot smoother. Thankfully. Ooh, chatter. It's a lot better. Right, on to shaping the outside and making the cap. Right, apologies, I forgot to record, so I'll have to start again, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a separate head. I'm going to use this chunk, I'm going to turn another head here, part it off, and then create the stem and then glue it together. So it's going to show you another section as well that you can use with that cap for the gluing up. Forgot to press record. See how thin this rim is? I've made it. I put a cap in, one that I'd already got that just fit fine with a bit of tissue paper. I turned it down and sanded it, and then forgot I was supposed to be recording it. Plus, because I've turned it, I went a little bit too aggressive with the sandpaper. Because it's such a thin rim, it's split. I don't know if you can see a dark patch in there. I can definitely see it myself. There's a hairline split that goes all the way from the rim down to the bottom. There's another one, a fine one there as well. So I don't know how that's going to affect it when I go thinner here. I don't know if it's just going to spray apart. So I'm going to put that off. I'm going to get to this point where I'd already hollowed it, leaving a wall about say 4 or 5 mil thick, something like that. Then I'll come back to you. Right, you might notice something very different. Well, there's no might about it, you will do. Different wood. I got sick and tired of this wood because I think it'll be alright for spindle work, like for stems, that kind of thing, and bases and side grain, but hollowing, it's just an absolute nightmare. That one's split as well, and I was just hollowing very carefully because I knew the other one split, so I thought I'd be a bit more careful with that one, and that one's split as well. That hasn't got a pith in it, so I don't know why it's so fragile. but this one's silver birch. Right, I've got my block, got my centre mark there with the hole punch. This, I'm not going to bother using screws because it's so thin. I'm just going to force it onto a faceplate with a tail stop. I'm using one of these live centres. It's a lot safer to do it with one of these this way, or this way with one of these, should I say, not with one of these, because it's only a point and it spreads the grain, whereas this one crimps the grain on the inside and the outside. So it's a lot safer when you push into the side. All I'm doing is I'm just putting a tenon on this. Safe as houses. If you're not safe doing it this way, obviously use screws. You don't have to do it the same way as I'm doing it, just above the glasses. The tenon side is the side that's going to be going towards the goblet or whatever you want to cap. Right. This is the side now that's going to be going against that washer. That washer at the back. So it has to be as flush and true as possible. That should be it. Yeah. Now what I need to do is I need to drill it, but I need I'll get the tap and the drill bit. Right, this is the tap. I didn't buy this, well I did technically. I mentioned earlier on, didn't I, about a hell of a lot of lathe bits. And basically a guy was getting rid of his workshop, he was just getting rid of it all. And I've got this set. I just threw these in. In fact, technically, I didn't buy these because I bought the lathe and all the bits, and I just chucked these in as well. Because I mentioned that I was going to be making caps and stuff. So it says, "Oh, I've got these. I've got these taps for this spindle, which was 1 inch 8 TPI." So I thought, spot on. Might as well grab them. But it says on it, "Oh, drilled 22.25 millimeters." Which I haven't got a 22.25mm drill bit, but I've got a 22mm Forstner, which is good enough for me. It's only wood, it's not steel, so at the end of the day 0.25mm it's not going to affect, it's not going to make it too hard, or a lot harder anyway, if the hole's just that little bit too small. Now, if you're going to be drilling with a Forstner bit or any size drill bit into this, and it's going to be, it's going to be going all the way through. you've got to watch that that doesn't interfere with the jaws, or the jaws don't interfere with that. Now if you look at this one, this is a Fox FX 4000 I think, something like that. That hole in the middle is way too small, whereas I know that these jaws, the holes, the jaws are a lot wider apart, so that drill bit will actually go all the way through to the chuck itself, which isn't going to happen. So I'm going to measure what the actual wood thickness is. It's 30mm, so if I say 32 to be absolutely sure. It's only going to be slow anyway, so I'll actually see the bit. If you look there, you can see like a haze between the jaws. You can see the bit coming through. But that's, I'm going to go 32. I'm going to start off, well, 32 from there. So I'm going to wind that back to 20. 32, 40, 52. So I'll look at 52 here. So I'm starting off at 2 centimetres. Close to 50. You might actually be able to see it yourself. No. Hold on to the chuck. Went a little bit too fast there with the blunt bit. Shouldn't touch it either, it's red hot. So yeah, that's drilled. Okie dokie. Right, I've got my tap. The circular section to the spanner, I'm quite lucky because my spindle height is just about right, so I can get a full spin on the actual spanner itself with a little bit of wiggling. It's got a dot, these have got a dot in the middle there, so it's handy if you're off centre. So you just push that into the burnt hole. Obviously if you tighten the tail stop, lock it down, you just put a bit of pressure on. Don't worry about stripping, because these threads, this is a starter tap, so the threads are a lot wider at the back. What I'm doing is building up a little bit of pressure so the teeth start to dig in. And the whole idea is you turn this, you turn the handle of the live centre so it gets it all central. It doesn't take long. I mean, I'm threading into oak with a 19mm drill bit spanner. You've got plenty of torque and leverage, and that is actually coming through. I say actually, it will be. At that point, when it's through the other side, you don't actually need the tail stop no more. It'll just thread itself. It's not going to go cockeyed. It's mostly through already. Right, and that is now touching the chuck. I can see it through there. So I wind it back out. If I do a lot of these, I can see me chopping this, because I never use this for anything else anyway. Right, that should be, no, I was hopeful. Right, because that's the starter tap, You know what I mean? There's virtually no teeth at the end. Now I'm going to go to the next size. Same size thread, but you've got a lot more teeth in the middle. In fact, I'll go with the bottom. Go with the bottom tap. It's probably a bad idea. No. We'll get so far, but because the teeth on that are near the bottom, you know what I mean? You might as well. It's easy enough. And that's done. And all I've got to do now is mount it the other way to tool it to fit the goblet on, or whatever you're going to be putting on. This is M33 3.5. Put the spindle thread adapter on. You just wind that on. Simples. Perfect. I just want to take it down just that little bit more. Remember, you're working on the radius, not the diameter. So whenever you take off, you're doubling. That's a nice fit. A little bit loose. That's okay. That's it. Perfect. So now that's all tooled, I can measure that. So that is 60.93. You might as well say 61. If I mark on that, 61mm. Bit of a scroll, MM. There you go. What I can do is I can store that, and if I want to make another goblet that's approximate to that diameter, I can just basically tailor that, and I've already got the cap, so I can keep on hollowing that and then test fit this and make the actual goblet itself to fit this cap, so then I don't have to make any more other any other caps. And that's what I do plan to do. I plan to use some of this wood to make a 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So I've got various caps in 1cm increments. Right, I forgot to do something. It's not a major faff. I like to have a rim before sanding, or about 2mm, something like that. So when you sand, it's got a nice sharp edge to it. A bit like that other one that I made, that first one. So that is about 5mm. So you can also use these as a bushing, because I'll use it now, obviously turn it down to 2mm. The next time I make one for using this bush, I can then turn the wood down to approximately that size and use it as a bushing. Now, remembering though that there is a little bit of play in this, isn't there? It's got a little bit of wobble to allow for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in now. Might be worth actually, as if you've never used one of these before, just shoot for about 3mm or as wide as you're comfortable of doing it anyway. Obviously that's going to be annoying, that paper just for now. I'm just going to rip that off. I'm going to have to take that down a little bit and then take it off, check the width, put it back on again, turn it down a little bit more, check the width, you know what I mean? You'll get the gist. I think that's about there, or I like it anyway. About 2.5. Right, so I don't want to go any thinner than that. Because don't forget, when you're sanding, you're going to be sanding some of that wood away as well. So now, I've got to shape it up to that point. I don't like this one bit now. Right, now this would chatter like mad. I've actually got a tool mark up here as well. I think the rest can sand down. So it's not very even. It's got a lump. As it's coming round, it's got a lump there and there. You can see it. That's the worst one there. It's got one there. So I'm going to try. I can shear scrape that now. Now I'm being ridiculous. Where's that gone? It's on the floor. Right. High speed. I think now it's going to be sanding. Now watch it when you're sanding end grain, because I thought that was a tool mark. Got a dark ring just there, and I thought that was like a burnished tool mark or something, but it's actually not. It's an actual discoloration. Do you know how you see that? I don't know if you can see it, but this here, that is darker than that, and it's a different grain pattern. You also get the growth rings. As soon as that's turning, I thought that was a tool mark, it's not, it's actually a darker growth, so you can actually sand through a hell of a lot of detail thinking it's a tool mark when it isn't. Right, what I forgot to do, as per usual, I run ahead of myself. I haven't done the rim, have I? I haven't been sanding the rim. So I'm going to have to take that out carefully so I don't lose the paper protector. Now I've done up to 320 on the inside because that's now unsupported. You can see how wobbly it is, so you've got to be very soft. Yeah. I can see this snapping off in my hand. Turn it the other way so I can support it a bit easier. It's getting a bit warm. Look at that. That looks nice. I'll put the cap back on so I can do, in fact, no, I'll do 320 now. Right, I've had some careful deliberation. I don't like it. I've sanded it, I don't like the shape. It's not, I like it but I don't, if you get what I mean. So it's going to be a dark red. I'm going to stain it. Oh, that's a point. I need to put my glove on that I got out. It's somewhere around, there it is. Right, here goes. This is crimson red and black, a few drops of black. So, ooh, that looks nice-ish. Keeping the cap on for now, which is probably a bad idea if I want to reuse it again. Hopefully I've got enough stain in here. So this is very, very thin wood. It more than likely will warp a little bit, so you've got to keep the cap on for as much as you can. It's also getting very, very cold. So this is going to be a rush job now. It's not going to be a proper job. I'm going to put this on, abrasive paste it, and then quit for the day. I'll also need to stain the inside otherwise it will warp like crazy around the rim. So I need to now take this off. It's already warping because it's pinching the cap. I can actually see stain coming through. That's how thin it is. Now the advantage of putting stain on and liquid, it's not dry anymore, so it should give a little bit more flex around the thin sections. That's actually looking quite nice, the stain on it. Some people are probably going, no, you don't want to stain it, but it's my project. If you want one of these not stained, by all means copy it. I don't mind. Just if you do copy it, at least mention me in any comments that you, in any post that you make on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Just say this came from Mark Hobster, this idea or concept, whatever, so at least I get some credit for it. Oh, what would be really nice, actually, thinking about it, so I've put some more black in, a tiny bit because there's not much left. See what that does. Just round the bottom of that. Oh, look at me. Never mind, it's all round now. Oop. That's a good advert, that, isn't it? For not using a rag on lathes, because it just, look, it just wraps round and pulls. It's actually pulling my hand right round. So yeah, you don't use rags on lathes when they're turned on anyway. It's alright while you, otherwise that happens, you'll have blood all up your arm. It's alright obviously while you're turning it by hand, because you're not going to literally twist your own arm off. Now, like I said, because I'm in a rush, that's too hot. This is a good experiment as well, because I don't know exactly how this is going to react. Because I'm now closing this up, trapping heat on the inside. And also potentially a little bit of moisture. It's not going to... Right, oh God, it's not going to dry properly. I can see steam coming off it. So I'm quickly going to abrasive paste it now. Wherever I put the abrasive paste. There it is. Homemade abrasive paste. This is microcrystalline wax. It's 1 part, this is by weight. 1 part, by weight, it's 1 part pumice, 240 mesh pumice, 1 part microcrystalline wax, and then 3.5 parts by weight mineral oil. The wax is a carrier to suspend the pumice, but obviously the wax then goes rock hard when it cools. So you use the mineral oil only to loosen the wax to make it into a paste, and that makes it a lot easier to spread on. Because I'm in a rush, I'm doing a lot of bad practices here. I've just stained it and I'm putting a red tissue in the wax. But this is a rush job. You'll notice now when I turn the lathe on, I'm going to be close to the chuck, but it's a paper towel. It'll either tear, or if it doesn't, I'm going to be holding it loose anyway, so to come out my hand I'm not gripping it hard. Oh, not that fast. You don't want it too fast to start off with, because you don't want it spraying in your face. There is quite a heavy dosage on that. But don't worry about it getting into the details, because with this stuff the whole idea is just to put it on and take it off. It's not like a finishing wax. It's too loose for that. It's got too much oil in it. Snapped! It snapped! No! That's a dumbass mistake. With all that pressure twisting that, and I'm putting loads of pressure on that to slow it down, so effectively I've just twisted it off by waxing it. Oh. See what, shall I have a humorous finish? If that wasn't humorous enough. Um, did I say foot off the goblet? I meant 10 off the goblet. There it is. I did check to make sure it weren't going to rub. Doesn't seem secure. Duct tape fixes everything. If it sticks to wax, it's supposed to stick to everything. Bingo!